Good morning and welcome to day 30 for this Inktober Tangle Challenge 2023. I'm Rachel from Rachel Angela Art, and you can find me on Instagram of the same name. I'm a certified Tangle teacher, CZT, and I just want to say thanks to Stephanie Jennifer for putting the prompts for this challenge together for us. She's the one that did these little prompt cards as well for us. So today is Trixie by Chen CZT. So this is the one that I did earlier. There are a couple of practice ones because I realised that this dot is not definitely in the centre. As I drew quite well, I've drawn one before this, before I got to this point, when I realised that the centre dot is just about the angles and lines and the space that you leave here. So the first move is this one in the middle, and we're going to do it on our bijou. Well, I'm going to do it on my bijou tile. Just make sure that it's square, and I won't, I did use, to get this circle, I just drew around. I've got a circle, viscous circle thing, and I just drew around it, and I drew around that in pencil to get my string, because you really have kind of got to get these correct on a circular one so that it looks okay, especially the lining these up, which we're not going to worry about with ours. So without further ado, we will focus and be present and slow down, and remember, this is not a race. This is us just taking some me time and practicing now this pattern, Trixie. So we're going to go, I've already drawn this string, this border, and I'm just going to go from one side to the other to get our triangle. So I'm going to draw 4 on here. So we're going to okay. So we're going to find, I would say, draw just yourself a guide to kind of know where the middle-ish is. So I'm not drawing all the way down, just going to kind of, so we know where we are. And then if we find our centre, now the dots that what I've previously done, so is not dead centre. And if you measure, because I was saying, why isn't this in the centre? And I was getting a tiny little one up here and big ones down here, and I was like, no, that just doesn't look right. So you just go where you think the middle is, and then just go a little bit below. And then the same on all of them. So where you think the middle might be, and just go a little bit below. Find the centre-ish, and then go a little bit below. And find the centre-ish, and go a little bit below. As though these would all line up. Into a triangle. And this is the way that I found the easiest way to do it for me. I'm going to be brave now. We're going to take our, and don't forget, it's only paper, and you can practice this. Practice this. So I'm going to use this as my first triangle. I'm going to ink. Well, I'm going to ink. It doesn't matter which one it is. But I'm going to ink this in now. Let's make sure I'm on camera. And my lighting is terrible and I really need to buy a new light. But for now, this is all we have. So we're going to ink that triangle in, and then we're going to do 3 moves, but they're all going to be kind of the same move. So we're going to go from this dot, from this centre-ish point. I'm going to go in parallel with this line. So these lines form our guide, this triangle, and the lines that form it are going to be our guide. So we're going to go out, and we're going to go out just a little way, and we're going to think about the distance between this line and where we stop. So I'm going to stop there, so we've got a nice border, and then I'm going to turn our tile twice and bring it back a little bit, because then we're going to draw another guide, another line in parallel to this line, thinking about the distance between this line and this line. Okay, so in parallel to this line, and we're just going to be brave, and we're going to leave about the same amount of distance. And you can pick your tile up and look at it and think, oh, does that need to come a little bit? So these lines are the key lines I have found. And then we're going to turn our tile, and then parallel to this line, so which is about here, we're going to go up and leave the same amount of distance. And that is a lot shorter. You can see that distance and that distance does just not match. So I'm going to bring that on a little bit more. And if we look at it, we don't have to be too fussy with it. Okay. And then the next line is we're going to come across right to the edge. So we're going to go in parallel with this line. We're going to come in parallel these 2 lines. We're going to draw another line from the top of this line, and we're going to go straight out like that. And we're going to do that on all of these that we drew before. So we're turning our tile, and from this line we're going to go out with this line parallel to these 2 lines. We're going to draw right down to the bottom of the triangle, and then we're going to turn our tile, and we're going to do that again in parallel to these 2 lines. So we're going to parallel to this line, so we're thinking about where that line would come, and we're going to go straight out. Okay, so that was easy, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we're going to put our triangles in. So I'm thinking about now, I go backwards, so I'm thinking about where this would come in parallel to this line. Skipping this, don't draw a line there, we need that as a gap. And I'm going to just pop a dot there, because we're going to draw a line from here parallel to this line. And we're going to think about where the middle is, and we've got our guide, and we're going to come up, and then we're going to turn our tile, and we're going to come from that dot, from there, that middle to there, thinking about these. And it's not, because I know I did that line not long enough. So it doesn't matter though, it doesn't matter at this point. It's new. And then we're going to ink before we do anything else, it's nice just to give your brain a rest, relax your shoulders, and just relax. Nice to ink this in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's great fun figuring it out. And then what we're going to do is, we're thinking about this triangle that's going to be formed now underneath here. So we come with this. So thinking about where the bottom of this is, this line, and coming parallel to this line, it's easier, I found, to come across and just make a little dot. So then we're thinking about where this would come and drawing a line out in parallel, not going below that dot. We're forming another little triangle here. And then we're going to turn our tile and see if our line is, so that's that line, and we're going to come down and form this triangle, and we're going to ink that in, just give our brains a rest. And ink that in. Okay, shoulders relaxed, no tension. This is fun. This is clever. I think it's fabulous. Okay, so now we are going to think about where this line is, is coming, and we're going to do a dot, exactly the same, and we're going to think about that, and that comes out, and that comes down in parallel. Always remember that's in parallel to this, and where they would meet, that is your little triangle. And then you've completed your first Trixie. So that's easy when you know how, isn't it? And I hope I did that slow enough for you, and I think I did, under my explanation of the best way to make sure that these three triangles are pretty similar. It doesn't have to be. So just inking those in, and there you have your first Trixie. And how neat is that? And we've just done ourselves guidelines, no rulers or nothing. And so pretty. It's great. Because I figured out how the easiest way to explain things, especially if you've never done it before. I mean, I've done it a couple of times. I've done the Celtic knot, or however you pronounce it. And so we're going to do this one now. My light's fading a little bit, so I'm going to see if my husband will rig me up another light. So what we're going to do is we're just going to continue, and the more that you practice this, the better. So in our triangle, thinking about this line, we are going to come out and do what we did before. So we're going to come straight out. That's our first stroke, thinking about where that would come and the distance. And then we're going to turn our tile and thinking about where this line would come and the distance from the centre. We're going to come out in parallel, and we're going to leave the same distance. And then we're going to turn our tile again And coming out from the centre, we're going to come out and thinking about where that line had come as well, so it would probably come to about here. Okay, and then we're going to turn our tile, and from here we're going to go straight down. So I hope that's a better lighting. Thank you. So coming out, I hope I'm not in too much shadow. Let's see, is that better? So I'm just going to play with this lighting as I'm doing this. Sorry about that. So it's very dark outside today. That's better, I think. Yeah, that's better. Oops. Okay. So thinking about our, we're going to come straight out with this in parallel to this line. And then we're going to turn our tile. And in parallel to this and this, we're going to be brave and draw our line. Yeah. And then we're going to turn our tile. Turn our tile, and then we're going to do in parallel to this and this and this. Okay, so pretty easy when you know how. And then again, in parallel to this line, we're going to go up to the centre with our guide, with our guideline that we drew earlier. And then we're going to turn our tile, and we're going to think about where this, so this might have come out a bit more, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it does not matter. And then we're going to come in parallel with this line. We're going to come down to this line, and then we're going to ink our triangle in to give our brains a rest. And it's just nice, and just relax and breathe. Then we're going to turn our tile. We're thinking about where this line would be. And in parallel to this line, we're going to come down. And then we're thinking about where this line is, as though this had come round. And we're going to ink that in. Relaxing our shoulders. So this is going to be a long video. So then we're going to do the next. So we're going to come on. So that would come under. I'm thinking about where this comes. And we're going to draw a parallel line where we think this might, parallel to that, parallel to this. I'm going to come on till they join. And then we're going to hit that in, and then you've got your second Trixie. Trixyz. Trixyz. And there you've got your second one. So if you've got it and you don't want to watch the rest, please skip. But I thought if I did it 4 times, then rather than having to rewind and play it back, then you can do it again. So going from our centre dot and thinking about our first 3 moves, which is, let me ink these in. I'll just ink this in and ink this in. There we go. So from our centre dot, having the triangle this way, this is our parallel line we're going to think about, and then we're going to come out thinking about this as with a gap. And then we're going to turn our tile, and in parallel to this line we're going to come out and just thinking about the distance. And then we're going to turn our tile again, and we're going to, in parallel with this line, we're going to come out. So thinking about that line should have been there, but it doesn't matter. We'll kind of get it there. Thinking about that line coming down, that's where we'd stop, because these help us guide. And then coming back to the line we've just drawn and the bottom of the triangle, we're going to come out with this line, and we're going to go straight out. We're going to turn our tile, and parallel to this line we're going to draw this line, parallel to this line. We turn our tile, and we're going to do the same with this one. So in parallel to this, we're going to come straight out. And then our last move is, we've got our centre line that we drew earlier, our guide, and in parallel to this line we're going to go up to our guide line, and then we're going to go down in parallel to this line. So we've got our triangle, and then we're going to, as though, leave a gap, go down, and then think about where this is coming in parallel to this line. I'm going to come on, and you can even it up, don't worry about that. Oops, and then we're going to ink this in, because I think it's always better to just have a little bit of a break and do something to remind yourself to relax. Relax and ink in. Which is a nice thing to do. And then back to our drawing. We come out, think about this line, think about that line in parallel to this line. So this would come maybe down a bit in parallel to this line, thinking about this line coming down, and form our triangle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, this is just all the enjoyment process. You can go away and you can play with this as a border tangle, doing triangles all the way around. There we are. So there's our third, and then another one, our last one. So always with our parallel line vertical to us, our bottom vertical line, we're going to go out. So we're going to go out. To about here. Okay, and then we're going to turn our tile in parallel to this line. We're going to go out and leave the same kind of distance. thinking about where that kind of comes, is where we'd stop turning our tile. Then we're going to come out parallel to this line, thinking about where that would stop. And then we're going to turn our tile in our starting position, which is with the vertical line of the bottom, at the bottom of the triangle, vertical towards you, and then depending on how you draw, obviously. And then we're going to come straight out with this line. And we're going to turn our tile, and we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to come straight down. I'm going to turn our tile, and then vertical, parallel, to this line. And this we're going to, come straight. And then we just need to do our triangles now. So we're going to go up to this centre line that we drew earlier, parallel to this, always remembering parallel to this line. Turn our tile parallel to this line. We're going to come down thinking about that as well. And then we're going to ink our triangle in. And as I said, it does not have to be perfect. So relaxing. And then we're going to do exactly the same. Parallel to this line, so kind of try and keep it parallel. And then where that would come, you would bring that in, and then we would ink this in, relaxing our shoulders. And I'm doing that more for me as well, because I tend to hunch my shoulders, get tighter when I'm trying to concentrate, as I'm sure we all do. And then we're going to go from this under there, thinking about this line. I can straighten that off a little bit. To there. Thinking about where these two are going to meet, parallel to this line. And there you have formed your lass, and you've done a grid, or 4 triangles in a square. We could do that competition. How many triangles can you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's one of those. And I'm sorry if you can hear that. The bin men have just come. So that is our, and to shade it is very simple. On here, all I have done is shaded at all the indices, the junctions here where they overlap or go under. So I'll do that, and this is going to be pretty quick. So just on the inside, I'm going to lay some graphite down on these, and then there's 3 on the inside and 3. So that is 1. This forms another. I'll do it there, and then this forms another. So I'll put the graphite down first. Quite heavily at all these. I was counting 1, 2, I've missed one there, that's it. And then 1, 2, 3 on the outside and 3 on the inside. And 3 on the outside and 3 on the inside. And there's our shading. And we get our tortillon. And this is where the magic happens, and you can play with this shading. Pushing the graphite in and pulling it up. And the same on these. Okay, and then pushing the graphite in and pulling it up. And then pulling it in, pushing the graphite in and tickling it up there. So yeah, so you do need those guides, I would definitely say. Definitely. And this is a very, you can do one, but it's a slow. For you to get it, you need to go slow to start with, then you'll get it, and then you'll be away with it. Just be able to do them. So pushing the graphite in. And this is our last day, and if you've been watching me, thank you very much. No, it's not our last day, tomorrow's our last day. I think I'm a day late, or a day early. But I've really enjoyed it, actually, and setting up the channel and everything and learning. I'm going to learn to edit, so I can edit the bin men out. But it is real life, and for me it's easier. I like to talk and explain what I'm doing. I don't go out much, so this is my joy and mixed media. I'm on Instagram, and I'm hoping to do some daily videos, but I'm going to give myself a week off because it's been full on, and I've got to catch up on my wanderlust. I do art journaling as well, which I really love, and was so happy that I became a brand ambassador for them, that they asked me. That's just helping people in the classroom. Not helping people, but any questions if we can answer. We can, we do. So if you're an art journaler, come over and join us. There's a link in my bio to join on Instagram. So, there, it looks great. And of course, you know me, I would want to add colour. So don't forget when you've done this to add your chop. And that is just a little signature. Your initials. Mine are backwards, obviously. Rachel, Angela, Art. I call myself, so there we go. So I hope that explanation was easy to follow. and you enjoyed that. So please go away, have a great play with this in different, have a go at the circle. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.